I'm living. I'm feeling a hell of a lot better today than I have last week, even though I don't have my tooth in. But who gives a crap, right?
Right.
I
I
mean,
don't care.
it's me. It's not like we're gonna have a million folks looking, and I'm gonna get a 500,000 negative comments, right?
Yeah, from like all 5 or 6 people that do the download.
Yeah. But anyway, speaking of downloads, how we been doing lately? Do you know?
I haven't checked. I'm checking right now.
All right.
Pretty flat.
Well, it's all flat, right?
Uh,
You know.
one
Well, what
one
you do?
literally one or two here and there.
Okay.
Literally.
Well,
Um,
while you're looking at, it, I'll just say a little bit. All of our friends who are Pope Francis followers and friends in the Catholic Church, hearts and prayers go out for all you guys and stuff like that. He was quite a character.
yeah, that he was.
Uh, he actually was the Pope for what, quite a few years. He was born in Argentina to a family of Italian origin. So quite a history on him when you look it up and go into his history and stuff like that. So we just give a shout out to all of our Catholic friends who are in prayers for them.
Yeah, we've only had 15 downloads this month.
You know, we got to work on that.
Yeah, we ain't moving the needle.
Well, we had a bad week last Sunday. I didn't feel good. Then Monday I had a dental appointment, and boy, I really had a headache after that dental appointment. It was just a general cleaning, but I think she did a little bit more of a deep cleaning because I see her pretty frequently, and we get along pretty good. So I think she was trying to take care of me pretty good. And so put us a little bit behind schedule a little bit.
Yeah, and then it just at work, it just seems like there's always something, man.
Yep. But
So,
we're back on course today. Got a little bit of history for you.
all right.
Just some things that happened on this date. Samuel Morse was born on this date. He's the American inventor of the telegraph and the Morse code. Coretta Scott King was born on this date. Then we had August Wilson, who is a playwright known for the Fences and the Piano Lesson, was born on this date. And the fact of the day is sugar becomes the first household staple ration as part of the U.S. war efforts. The government issued ration books with tear out stamps allowed every American kid to buy 26 pounds of sugar per year. That was
Hmm.
in 1942 on this day. Yeah. A lot of rationing back during the World War II time, huh? Then on this date in 1521, Ferdinand Magellan was killed in the Philippines during a tribal skirmish on Macatan Island in the Philippines.
Do you know what Magellan was doing?
Uh,
What
no,
brought him out there?
no, I traveled three quarters of the way around the.
He was trying to sail around the world.
Yeah, ships had dropped anchor at the Philippine island of Cebu, and Magellan met with the local chief. I guess things didn't go too well after that. Then in 1805, U.S. agent William Eaton leads the first U.S. Marines battle on the shores of Tripoli. Uh,
That would be in North Africa.
yeah, if you read a little bit of history, that was quite an event.
Isn't that
Then
in the Marine Corps hymn? From the halls
yep,
of Montezuma to the shores of
exactly.
Tripoli?
Yep. And then in 1813, Zeppelin Pike was killed in a battle. Uh, he was led two dangerous exploratory expeditions to uncharted areas of the West. He died during the battle in the War of 1812. By that time, he'd become a general and also faced other perilous situations. He joined the army when he was 15. That's pretty interesting.
Pretty young.
Yeah, and then 1822, General Grant is born. 1861, President Lincoln suspends the writ of habeas corpus during the Civil War. I think we all know what that's about. And this one, this surprised me, and I remember reading a little bit about it. In 1865, the Sultan steamship explosion killed 1,700 people.
Yep.
Do you remember what that was about?
I don't.
The steamboat Sultan explodes on the Mississippi River near the Memphis. 1,700 passengers, including many discharged Union soldiers. The action is still considered the largest maritime disaster. Most of those soldiers had been in the prison in Georgia at the stockade down in Savannah, in that area, where the Civil War prison war camp.
Yep.
Then in 1956, Rocky Marciano retires as the world heavyweight champion, undefeated, 49 wins and 49 professional bouts, 43 knockouts. Rocky Marciano. In 1978, the Afghan president was overthrown and murdered. In 1994, South Africa holds first multiracial elections. Then 1997, Andrew Cunanan begins his killing spree. I didn't know anything about him.
Do you know why the Afghanistan prime minister was murdered?
Overthrow of the government.
By
Muhammad Dawud is overthrown, and
wasn't that the Soviet invasion?
Afghanistan. No, yep, Soviet troops 2 years later. Yeah. Then here's a big one. 2009, GM announces plans to phase out Pontiac.
Yep.
The first car I remember about Pontiac, I always remember back in the 50s, they had the big wings and all that kind of stuff. But in 1962, 63, when I got to Omaha, Nebraska, working in security on the flight line, this Air First, can't remember his name now, but about Pontiac GTO. Well,
Okay.
that was a big deal. And I was thinking this morning, how in the hell could an Airman First Class in 1963, 64 afford a GTO?
No idea.
Just like all that was, right? You borrow a little money, you pay a long time to pay for it. Or you
Yep.
work hard and save your money and make a down payment and then finance the rest of it, right? So, but I thought that was pretty neat. I don't remember. They still making Pontiacs, right?
Nope.
No.
Not anymore.
So that's a little bit of history. And
I got some history.
all right, what you got?
On today in history, I can't believe you didn't mention this. Today is the day that chaos erupted at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine.
Yep.
It was the night before one of the reactors exploded, and it sent radiation all across Europe. But today was the day when the panic began because the Soviet Union quietly evacuated over 100,000 people from the town of Pripyat,
Yeah.
which was too late for many.
Because at that time it was Russian.
Yeah, they were Russians.
So interesting. I get those things every morning about history, and it's interesting to read about those kind of things. And
So yeah, so reactor from the 26th and the 27th, the reactor number 4 exploded during a late night safety test, And by dawn on this day, radiation levels were skyrocketing. And like I said, the Soviets evacuated 100,000 people, but they still hadn't told the world what was going on. So obviously there was a cover up because I mean it's the Soviets, but most any country probably would have covered it up.
Right.
The Soviets didn't admit what had happened publicly for at least 48 hours, as radiation was silently and undetectedly spreading across Europe. And the first outside detection was conducted by, or found by scientists in Sweden who noticed radiation, not the Soviets. So here's the twist: Chernobyl didn't just poison the land, it also poisoned our distrust in our governments, or at least in government as a whole. Uh,
Right.
the fallout changed how countries handle disasters and transparency as well as environmental policy, which then fueled a global anti-nuclear movement, and it also reshaped Europe's energy grids, which we're having problems with today because of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and most of Europe because Germany is shutting down all of their nuclear power plants right now as a part of the Chernobyl fear. But guess what? All of Europe is getting all of their natural gas from what country?
Russia.
Russia, exactly. So it's this that's the twist of history that I really want us to like delve into as we go on down with the podcast for the onesie twosie people that choose to listen. There's always a twist in there somewhere.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
every time you hear the debates about green energy and nuclear safety, you're hearing the echoes of Chernobyl. But nuclear power is the cleanest of all of the energy sources.
But yet, after just so, well, just that one, we had that one in New York, right? That had the,
You talking about 3 Mile Island?
yeah,
Yeah, that was in the 70s. Yeah, but that was also a cover up as well.
yeah. And, you know, good things that could have been good things to help all of us, especially in the environment and those things, because we didn't do our due diligence with those things. Probably hurt us more than it helped us.
So, as part of this history and the twist, I've come up with a tagline that we can use. The past isn't over. It's just waiting for you to finish reading it.
That's true.
And another thing, today in history, we're going to go way, way back in time to April 27th, 4977 BC. Supposedly, that was the day that the universe was born, or at
Absolutely.
least that's what the famous German astronomer Johann Kepler had calculated.
Yep.
One of to,
4977 BC.
yeah, when the universe was born, according to Johann Kepler. He was a 17th century astronomer, mathematician, and a mystic. He was best known for discovering the laws of planetary motion, which is how the planets orbit around the sun, which laid the groundwork for Newton and modern astrophysics. But in 1600, he used the Bible and some astrological charts to calculate that the universe was created on April 27th, 4977 BC. I'm not joking. That's what he thought based on science at the time.
Yeah.
But here's the twist. We all know that the universe is about 13.8 billion years old based
Yeah.
on modern physics and cosmology. So Kepler was off about 13.8 billion years.
Yeah. But think about it is, we think about all of these intelligent people didn't start this stuff then to looking into and giving us facts. What would we have now to build on to go back and look at?
Yeah. So, but that's part of the rest of the story. Even though he was wildly wrong on the birthday of the universe, his genius wasn't about when things started, but it was about how things moved.
Right.
Because he said the planets moved around the sun, which was controversial at the time because it contradicted what the church and everybody else was saying. They were saying that the sun and everybody else revolved around the earth. He said it was the other way around. But his work also led to us being able to discover black holes, gravitational waves, and even the Big Bang Theory. So, without his early steps, you wouldn't have the Hubble Space Telescope, the Mars rovers, or even plans to go to Mars at all.
Yeah. You know, and one day we will. And I don't think
So,
it's too far away either.
yep. So, today, whether you're looking through the stars with a telescope or using your GPS to find the nearest coffee shop or to get routed out of traffic, it all traces back to one man who thought the universe began today,
Yeah.
Johann Kepler. Just
In
remember, people, the past isn't
4977.
over. It's just waiting for you to finish reading it.
Actually, that was my first one on here, and
Was
I skipped.
Kepler?
Yeah,
You skip
university.
right over him. Look at that.
Universe is created according to Kepler. See that picture
Yep.
there?
See, there's another twist right there.
Yep. And I went straight down to who's born on this day. I got to pay attention to what the hell I'm doing here.
Or maybe we're both onto something.
Yep. Well, what do you think about the NFL draft?
Surprised and not surprised. I'm surprised in the sense that some of those quarterbacks fell as far as they fell in the draft. I really am.
I'm not.
I don't know.
Yeah, the last couple of years, we've had some really good quarterback drafts. And when you go back and look at the teams last year, with the exception of a couple, and I don't know off the top of my head, I don't think any of the teams were that bad because of the quarterbacks. So I personally didn't see where there was that need for quarterbacks. And what I did see was a lot of interior linemen, defensive linemen, stuff like that, which I think is critical to building a team. You're going to have a good, successful team. You better have some horses up front that can protect you and take care of you offensively and defensively. And that's why I think next year, of course, everybody knows we're big Alabama fans. I tell you what, I'm expecting big things from Alabama next year, offensively and especially defensively.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. And speaking of next year, you know, this is the 14th consecutive season we've had at least 7 players picked in the draft.
Yes, we did. And I think that set a record.
Yep. The last time they had fewer than 7 was 2011. We only had 5 drafted, including 4 in the first round.
So I also saw another stat that we are the number 3 all time in players drafted.
Yep.
But it wasn't until Saban got there that we even got into even close to that level.
Exactly. And I'll get to that in just a minute. I got some more information on that. In 2018, we had 12 players chosen, 10 in 17, 19, 20, 21, 23, and 24, 9 in 2013, 8 in 2012, 14, 7 in 15, 16, 22. And this year, we got several top players who was eligible to enter the 25 draft, but decided to remain in school. Dante Lawson, I think that's great. Defensive end, left tackle Overton, wide receiver Jermaine Bernard, and defensive tackle Tim Keenan. They'll be part of the 2016 classes. They're saying right now there's 15 players on this 25 roster.
All right.
With expiring eligibility, and have really good chance of getting that next year. That and some of the other things I've read, and I see. Of course, Ohio State come in there. They were the most picks this year. I think they had 15 picks this year in the draft.
Who did?
Huh?
Who did you say?
Ohio State.
Yeah, one of them players used to play for Alabama.
Yep. Uh, but since 2009, we've had 140 draft picks, the most by any college football program during that span. Uh, we've had at least one defensive back drafted in the last 14 NFL drafts dating back to 2012. That's pretty significant.
Hmm.
To me, that just tells you how important defense is. Yeah. Uh, and I think Jalen Milroe's section by the Seahawks on Friday was a good deal for him. Going to give him some
I think
time to
so.
learn. And I'll tell you the thing that upsets me the most is a lot of controversy on Sanders from Colorado. Everything that I read, he's a great ball player. I don't take anything away from him. But they talk about how his father hurt him and stuff like that. I think that's all just BS talk, just to make things,
Just to have
just have,
something to talk about.
yeah, to have conversation. I think he's a great player, but he's like all players. You have some strong suits and you have some weak suits. And I think that's why he went later in the draft. I personally just don't see the teams that really need quarterbacks that bad. When you look at the quarterbacks that were drafted, there's about 5 that was drafted.
5 or 6, yeah.
Other than Cam Ward, I don't really see where any of them were all that strong.
All that spectacular.
They're good players, good quarterbacks, and they will develop and they'll become good. So it'd be interesting to see how they move forward in their careers and stuff like that. But if my memory serves me correctly, how many quarterbacks in the last 20 years or so that went really high that really made it in the draft that big, especially in the last few years?
I can't remember.
I love Bryce Young, but where's he at? He's a Heisman Trophy winner.
Did he go to Chicago? No, that was.
Yeah, but I mean, and look at the guy from Clemson. I mean, these guys are all good, but sometimes what you do in college is not how it's going to be when you get into the NFL.
Oh, Bryce went to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And that's probably why you haven't heard too much about him.
So who's he sitting behind?
I don't know. Isn't he the starter?
He was a starter last year, but I thought he got hurt and was. But anyway.
Let's see. He had some pretty good QBRs, but and some not so good ones.
Yeah. So we'll see. But
it is a team sport.
It is. And things change. The pocket quarterback days is pretty much gone. I think if you're not a player like Sanders or Milroe that can run the ball, if you look at all those quarterbacks that were drafted this year, they're all good mobile quarterbacks. They all have some things they need to work on, things like that. But we also had 4 players they get drafted, but they got NFL offers. The tight end Dupree went to New England. Long snapper Hibbert going to Miami. The punter James Burnett is going to New Orleans. Who else? Let's see. There was somebody else I forgot. But you're talking about Ohio State list with 14 players.
one of which
the
was
20
a transfer from Alabama.
Yeah, of the 25 draft picks by school, the SEC is number one. They had 79 drafts. Georgia with 13, Texas with 12, Ole Miss with 8, Alabama 7, LSU 7, Florida 7, then the rest 7.
Speaking of the SEC, which college lost 0 players in the spring transfer portal?
Alabama.
Alabama.
But we picked up 2
Tight
incoming.
ends.
Yeah,
But that says a lot about the program, in my estimation,
absolutely.
because it means what it means to me is that there aren't any problems going on in the locker room, problems with the coaches and the players, or conversely, the players versus the coaches in that climate.
And one of the articles I read this morning, one of the players, I don't remember his name, was talking about that. And he said it's about the team. And that's another reason why I think I'm excited about what we do next year.
I am too. I still think he's the right coach for the right time. People need to remember that was year 1. He stepped in behind huge shoes. Who was the guy that replaced Bear Bryant? Nobody remembers him, do they?
No, you don't. I'm trying. It was one of his proteges. It was one of his proteges. But you know what? We went, what, 10, 12 years before we finally got a coach
13 years before we got a national championship.
Yeah.
And then it was
Gene Stallings.
16 years before we got 15 years before we got our next.
Yeah. And Gene Stallings is one of my favorite coaches. Then the Big Ten was number 2 with 71 players. Ohio State with 14, Oregon 10, Michigan 7.
Penn State had 2 go in the first round.
Yeah.
Then
the ACC was 3rd with 42. Miami with 7. Clemson only had 3. That kind of surprised me because usually Clemson's.
Dabo's he's dropped off. I don't know what's going on there.
You know what I think happened to Clemson? He lost both his coordinators. Oklahoma.
Saban lost a coordinator every damn year, it seemed like.
Yeah, but Saban had consistency all the way across the board. In my opinion, with Clemson, he had two coordinators, offense, especially defensive coordinator, who's at Oklahoma. And I think
he ain't doing too good either.
Huh?
And he's not doing too good either.
No, he's not. And Oklahoma only had 2 to make it in the NFL draft this year. And then let's see who else we got here. Independence was 7. Notre Dame had 6. UConn had 1. Mountain West had 6.
What about the Big 12? Did they have anybody?
These are the top conference. Big 10, Independent, nope. Pac-12 had 1. Big Sky had 3. Didn't see anything about the Big 12. I'm sure they did, but unless I just overlooked it somewhere.
According to mine, 29 players drafted. Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, McMillan from Arizona. So yeah, 29 from the Big 12. And speaking of the Big 12, what's this hat I got on right here?
Do what?
What's this hat I have on?
Texas Tech. We got shout out to granddaughter number 4 going to Texas Tech this fall.
Yep, she got accepted into that master's degree program at Texas Tech for mental health counseling.
Yep. I got sticker order to be here next week from the back of my car. Give all these granddaughters and daughters and daughter-in-law all that love on the back of my car and what university they attended. So people will see me driving down the road, they know where the contact is. And I'm going to tell you, yesterday they had a big fight on my hand.
A big fight? What happened?
We had granddaughter number 3 against granddaughter number 4 in softball.
In softball?
Arizona State versus Texas Tech.
Oh, my goodness.
Doubleheader. And Texas Tech, both of them. Of course, they're talking about football. UTSA have what, 2 to get drafted this year?
I think it was more than that. I think it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, into the NFL. So
yeah,
I think that coach we got at UTSA is Coach Trayer. I think he's doing a great job. He's really taking that program upwards,
Says only one player was drafted, Za Frazier, by the Bears.
But that's saying a lot because out of the last few years, we've had like 3 or 4 to get drafted.
Yeah, there were 3 undrafted free agents. Oscar Cardenas as a tight end, Elliot Davison as a safety, and Joe Evans as a defensive tackle.
And I think that tight end, sometimes you just don't get the notoriety and the publicity that a lot of players get when you're at some of these different schools and stuff. But I think he's going to do well in the NFL. He's big. He's talented. He's one of those players that will play probably 1 or 2 downs. We're getting the ball and stuff. But he's big enough that he can move the ball. And when you need 2 or 3 yards, he's the type of guy you want to go to.
All righty. I think it's about time we wrap this party up.
Yeah, I'm getting excited about some football. I'm getting ready to turn my TV on, watch some Alabama softball. We beat Missouri last night in the bottom of the 7th with an error to go up 7-6 to win the game.
Yeah, a win's a win, right?
Exactly. I like watching women's softball. They get into it. I'm going to tell you, they make it exciting. UTSA won yesterday.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you Thursday
and Saturday.
Yep. So have a good one.
No, this Thursday and then the following Saturday.
Right. We got Trisha Yearwood Thursday, then Mackenzie's graduation on the following Saturday.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Yep. Well, you have a good one and be safe.
You too. Y'all be good out there. Spread the word. We need the downloads.
All right. Be good.
All right. Y'all take care, everybody. Love you, Dad.